Welcome to Dream Tales Sleep Stories. Tonight's reading is The Kingdom Beneath the Ash. Settle into your bed or sofa and let your shoulders, jaw, and eyelids grow heavy. Inhale slowly, 1, 2, 3, and sigh the air away, allowing the day to fade into quiet dark. With every soft inhale, you invite fresh English phrases. With every gentle exhale, stray thoughts drift farther off. Behind my voice flows a gentle melody, renowned for guiding the mind toward deep relaxation. Keep your eyes closed or follow the captions, whichever feels right. Simply receive the rhythm and resonance of the language. Deep in rest, tonight's phrases will take root like seeds, ready to bloom into stronger English skills with the morning light. When you feel settled, hold that unhurried breath and allow yourself to drift into the tale. The Kingdom Beneath the Ash begins now, and when the story's final line has faded, the music will linger a little longer, carrying you gently deeper into sleep. The Kingdom Beneath the Ash. Lyra was 16 years old when the mountain woke up. For as long as anyone could remember, Mount Veros had been silent. It stood behind the kingdom of Allura like a sleeping giant, its peak covered with snow. The people of Allura lived in its shadow, but they never feared it. The kingdom was small, but beautiful and peaceful, and Lyra loved every part of it. She lived with her mother and younger brother, Kale, in a stone house near the river. Her mother was a weaver who made beautiful cloth from mountain wool. Kale was only 9, a quiet boy who liked to collect unusual stones. Lyra herself worked in the royal library, copying old books onto fresh paper. It was a simple life, but it was enough. The first sign came on a spring morning. Lyra felt the ground shake beneath her feet, gentle, like a heartbeat deep underground. Over the following days, the shaking grew stronger. Cracks appeared in walls, the river turned gray, animals became nervous. The king sent advisors to study the mountain, and they returned with worried faces. On the 7th day, the mountain exploded. Lyra was in the library when it happened. The sound was beyond hearing. It was felt in the chest, in the bones. She was thrown to the ground. Through the window, she saw a massive column of black smoke rising from the peak, spreading until it blocked the sun. Then came rivers of fire, pouring down the mountainside, faster than any horse could run. She ran through streets filled with screaming people, past buildings already burning. She called for her mother and Kale, but her voice was lost in the roar. The air was thick with falling ash. She reached her house, but the roof had collapsed. She dug through the stones with her bare hands, crying their names. No answer came. An old soldier grabbed her arm. "Follow the river south," he shouted. "There is nothing you can do here." She did not want to leave. Every part of her body wanted to keep digging, to call their names one more time, to believe that if she just moved one more stone, she would find them alive. But the heat was growing unbearable. The fire was closing in from all sides, and she knew that if she stayed, she would die too. So she ran. She followed the river south, away from the mountain, away from everything she had ever known. Behind her, the kingdom of Allura was being swallowed by fire and ash. She ran until her legs could not carry her any further. Then she fell to the ground and cried until there were no tears left. When Lyra opened her eyes, the world had changed. The sky was dark gray, filled with ash that fell like silent rain. Everything was buried: trees, grass, rocks, all under a thick layer of gray powder. The river was a slow, gray stream. There were no birds, no insects, no sounds of life. The world itself had died. She walked south for 3 days, hoping to find survivors. She found bodies half buried in ash, abandoned carts, scattered belongings. She found a child's red shoe, small and bright, lying alone on the gray ground. She picked it up and held it for a long time before placing it gently back down. She ate dried fruit from an overturned cart and drank river water after letting the ash settle. She slept in the shells of burned buildings, curled up against the cold. Each morning, a fresh layer of ash covered her clothes and hair. On the 3rd day, the ground beneath her feet began to feel soft and hollow. She noticed cracks in the surface, with steam rising from them. She was walking carefully along one of these cracks when the ground gave way without warning. She fell through darkness, hitting rocks and earth, until she landed on something soft. Above her, the hole was a small circle of gray light, impossibly far away. She could never climb back up. But the cave was not entirely dark. Blue crystals along the walls gave off a faint glow, beautiful like frozen pieces of sky. The air was warm and clean. She took a deep breath and felt something almost like hope. Then she heard footsteps. A woman appeared, carrying a soft golden light. She was tall and thin, with skin that had a slight gray shimmer and white hair like fresh ash. She stopped and looked at Lyra with deep surprise. "A surface dweller," she said. "We have not seen one of you in a very long time." The woman's name was Marin, and she belonged to a people called the Ash Folk. She led Lyra through wide tunnels lit by blue crystals. "Long ago," Marin explained, "our ancestors lived above ground, but the mountains erupted often, destroying everything. So they went underground and found these caves. The tunnel opened into an enormous cavern, and Lyra stopped breathing. It was a city. Hundreds of buildings were carved into the stone walls, connected by stairs and bridges. Blue crystals covered the walls and ceiling like stars. People moved and worked around a great stone column at the center. The Ash Folk had gray shimmered skin and large dark eyes adapted to the low light. Children ran between buildings, playing games Lyra did not recognize. "This is Varath," Marin said, "our home for over 1,000 years." Lyra was taken to a warm room where she was given food and water. After eating food she had never tasted before, colored mushrooms, flat bread from cave roots, a sweet drink like honey, Lyra was brought to the elder. Torvun was an old man who sat in a chamber inside the stone column. The walls were covered in carvings of mountains, flames, and strange symbols. His eyes held a sadness that seemed to come from centuries of knowledge. Lyra told him everything: the eruption, the fire, the ash, her family. Her voice broke when she spoke of her mother and Kale. Torvun listened without interruption, his expression growing darker. "The surface may not recover on its own," he said finally. "Not for hundreds of years. The ash will block the sunlight. Nothing will grow. Your world as you knew it is gone." The words hit her like a blow, but Torvun leaned forward. "There may be one way to change this. A legend speaks of the seed of rebirth, a seed that holds the power to restore life to any land. If planted on the surface, it could undo the damage. The ash would become fertile soil. Green things would grow again." "Where is this seed?" "Deep beneath the earth, in a place called the Garden of Lost Things. It is protected by ancient magic and guarded by a creature that has been there since the beginning of time. Many of our people have tried to reach it. None returned. I do not care, Lyra said. If there is even the smallest chance, I have to try. Torvund studied her face. Whatever he saw convinced him. Very well, but you will not go alone. 2 companions were assigned to travel with Lyra. Kale was a young scout, quick, silent, with sharp eyes that could see in almost complete darkness. He carried a long knife and rope and spoke little. Dessa was an older historian who had studied the Garden of Lost Things for most of her life. She carried old maps and a glowing crystal brighter than the cave walls. The journey will take several days, Dessa warned. The tunnels below are old and unstable. There are underground rivers that flood without warning and creatures that have never seen light. They left Verath the next morning. The blue crystals grew less common as they descended, and soon Dessa's crystal was their only light. The air became hotter. The walls grew damp. For 2 days they crossed underground rivers on narrow stone bridges, climbed down rock walls with rope, and squeezed through passages so tight they had to push their packs ahead. On the second night, in a worn chamber where water bubbled from cracks in the floor, Kale asked Lyra about the surface. There is a sky, she said, so high you can never reach it. During the day it is blue, and the sun crosses it slowly. At night, it turns black and fills with tiny lights called stars. Her voice softened, and the plants grow everywhere. Grass covers the ground like a blanket. Trees grow tall, and their leaves move in the wind. Everything smells alive. I would like to see that someday, Kale said quietly. On the 3rd day, they reached a chasm. It appeared without warning. The ground dropped away into nothing, at least 30 meters wide. On the far side, the tunnel continued. This was not on my maps, Dessa said. The eruption must have cracked the earth even at this depth. The ceiling above the chasm was thick with blue crystals. Kale tied a weight to his rope and threw it upward until it caught a strong cluster. He crossed first, swinging through the darkness. Then Lyra, her heart pounding as she hung above nothing. Dessa crossed last, her older arms barely holding. Halfway across, her grip began to slip. Lyra and Kale shouted encouragement. With one final swing, she reached the edge, and they pulled her to safety. On the 4th day, they found the underground river, black water rushing with terrifying speed. The path beside it was barely wide enough for one person, the stone wet and slippery. They had been walking an hour when the water began to rise. It reached their ankles, then knees. Then Dessa slipped. The current pulled her under. Lyra threw herself toward the water, grabbed Dessa's clothing, and held on while the current tried to tear her away. Kale reached past and grabbed Dessa's arm. Together they pulled her up. Dessa coughed violently. Her bag of maps was gone, swept away by the river. I have studied those maps for 30 years, she said, shaking but determined. Most of them are in my memory. That night, Kale told Lyra something the elder had kept from her. The seed cannot simply be taken. The guardian requires payment. It takes what matters most to you, your most precious possession. I have nothing left, Lyra said. Everyone has something. You may not know what it is until you are asked to give it up. Lyra thought of her mother's face, Kale's hands collecting stones, the smell of ink in the library. These memories were all she had left, the only proof her world had existed. She pushed the thought away and kept moving forward. On the 5th day, the tunnels opened into something beyond imagination. They stepped into a cavern so vast, the ceiling disappeared into darkness, and covering every surface was life. Real plants, green and vibrant and impossibly alive. Vines climbed the walls with leaves larger than Lyra's hand. Flowers bloomed in colors she had never seen, deep blue, burning gold, purple so dark it was almost black. Trees grew from cracks in stone, ancient and twisted. Moss covered the ground like a soft carpet. The light came from the plants themselves. Every leaf, every flower gave off a gentle glow. The cavern shimmered with 1,000 shades of green and gold. The garden of lost things, Dessa breathed, tears running down her face. I never believed I would actually see it. They walked in slowly, as if entering a temple. The air was warm and sweet. Small, glowing creatures moved among the plants, watching them with bright eyes. Everything here was once lost from the world above, Dessa explained. When a species disappears from the surface, the garden preserves it. This place is a memory of every living thing that has ever been lost. They walked deeper until the path ended at a clearing. In its center stood an enormous tree with silver-white bark, its branches spreading like open arms. Golden fruits hung from every branch, glowing with warm light. White petals covered the ground beneath it. At the base of the tree sat the guardian. It was not human or animal, but something entirely different. Its body was shaped like a person, but made of silver-white bark that moved like skin. Its face had no mouth, but its eyes were deep pools of golden light that seemed to contain entire worlds. Lyra stepped forward, heart pounding. I have come for the seed of rebirth, she said. The world above is dying. A great fire destroyed everything. If the seed exists, I am asking you to give it to me. The guardian's words appeared directly in her mind, clear and ancient. I know why you have come. The seed exists. I can give it to you. But nothing in this garden is free. I know. I am ready to pay. Are you? You do not yet know what I will ask. The golden eyes flickered. The price is your memories, all of them. Every moment you have lived, every person you have known, every feeling you have felt. You will plant the seed, and the world will be reborn. But you will not remember why. You will not remember the kingdom that was lost, or the people you loved. You will be a stranger in the world you saved. The words settled over Lyra like ice. Her memories, all of them. She thought of her mother at the loom in morning light, fingers moving through colored threads. She thought of Kale, arranging stones into patterns only he understood. The library, the smell of ink, the feeling of a new page beneath her pen. If she gave up her memories, these people would be truly gone, not just dead, but erased. No one would remember them. No one would know they had existed. I cannot, she whispered. Those memories are all I have. They are the only proof that my family existed. The guardian did not judge or push. That is why they are the price. The seed requires a sacrifice of true value. For you, that is your memories of the ones you loved. Lyra turned to her companions. Dessa's face was wet with tears. Dessa came and sat beside her. I am a historian. My life has been devoted to preserving memory. I understand what it means to lose the past. But memory is not the only form of love. You can love someone even if you do not remember them. Love lives in the heart, in the body, in the way you move through the world. Even without the memories, you will still be the person your mother raised. You will still carry her kindness inside you. Kale knelt before Lyra. When you described the surface, the sky, the grass, the flowers, I wanted to see it more than anything. You have the power to make that possible, not just for me, but for everyone. Lyra looked at the garden, the silver tree, and she understood. The memories would not truly die. They would become part of the seed. They would flow into the earth and become part of every tree that grew, every flower that bloomed. Her mother and Kale would not be gone. They would be everywhere. I accept, she said. Take my memories. Give me the seed. The guardian pressed one silver hand gently against her forehead. The memories began to leave. It was like watching the tide go out. They slid away one by one, like sand through fingers. First, the earliest memories, her mother's voice singing, the warmth of being carried. These faded like old paintings in the sun. Then childhood, playing in the fields, her first day at the library, Kale being born, tiny and red-faced. Each one left a small ache behind. Then the recent memories, the eruption, the fire, the ash, digging through the rubble. These were the most painful to lose. Finally, her mother's face began to fade. Lyra tried to hold it, the shape of her eyes, the curve of her smile, the lines on her hands. But it slipped away like water through a net. Lyra stood in the garden of lost things, and she did not know why she was crying. The guardian opened its other hand. In its palm lay a seed, small as an acorn, glowing with warm golden light, pulsing like a tiny heartbeat. When Lyra touched it, she felt not a memory, but an emotion, a deep, overwhelming love with no name or face attached to it. The memories live inside the seed now, the guardian said in her mind. When you plant it, they will become part of the new world. Every tree will carry a piece of your love. The people you have forgotten will exist in every living thing that grows. Dessa and Kale came to her side. The girl looked at them with confusion. "Who are you?" she asked. Dessa forced a smile through her tears. "We are your friends. You have something very important to do." Lyra looked at the seed. She did not know why she had it, but she knew with a certainty beyond thought that she needed to plant it somewhere above. The journey back was faster. Dessa and Kale guided her through tunnels, across the chasm, along the river. Lyra followed without question, trusting them completely without knowing why. Along the way, she asked questions that broke their hearts. "What is my name?" "Lyra." "And where am I from?" "A kingdom called Elora. It was a beautiful place." "Was?" "It was damaged. That is why you are carrying that seed." They passed through Verith, and the ash folk came out to see them. Word had spread that the surface girl had paid the price for the seed. They looked at her with wonder and sadness. Marin pulled her into a tight embrace. Lyra stood stiff at first, confused, but something in the warmth made her relax. It felt familiar, though she could not say why. From Verith, Kale led them upward through passages that sloped toward the surface. After 2 days of climbing, Lyra saw something she had no words for. Light. Real light. Gray and weak, filtered through ash, but it was daylight. Kale stared at it too. He had never seen it before. They climbed through a crack and emerged into the world above. The surface was a desert of gray. Ash covered everything, The sky was dark and heavy like a ceiling of smoke. No green, no color, no life. Cale looked around in shock. This was not the surface Lyra had described. The blue sky, the singing birds. This was a wasteland. "This is what the eruption did," Dessa said quietly. "This is why we came." Lyra had no memory of what this place had been, so she felt no grief. She simply saw empty land that needed help. The seed in her hand was glowing brighter than ever, pulsing with urgency. Dessa pointed to a hill in the distance, planted there, at the highest point, so its power can spread in every direction. They walked through the warm, dry ash. At the top of the hill, Lyra knelt and dug with her bare hands until she reached dark earth beneath. The seed's golden light grew blinding. She placed it in the hole, covered it with soil, and pressed both hands flat against the ground. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the earth trembled, not violently, but gently, like the heartbeat of the world itself. The ground grew warm. Something moved through the soil, spreading outward like ripples in a pond. From where she had planted the seed, a green shoot pushed through the earth. It grew with impossible speed, a sapling, then a tree, magnificent with silver-white bark and golden leaves that shimmered with inner light. From the tree's base, green spread outward. Grass pushed up through ash. Flowers appeared, blooming in cascades of color. Vines crept over rocks. The ash was not destroyed. It was transformed into rich, dark soil that fed new growth. The green wave expanded in every direction, flowing down the hillside, filling the valley, climbing slopes, spreading toward the horizon. Wherever it went, life returned. Above them, the ash clouds thinned. Holes appeared, and through them, blue. The sky was blue, and golden light broke through. The sun. Cale fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. He had never felt sunlight on his skin. "This," he whispered, "this is what you described." Lyra watched the green spreading across the land. She put her hand against the tree's trunk, smooth and warm, like skin. When she touched it, images flickered at the edges of her mind. Not full memories, but impressions. The sound of a loom clicking, small hands arranging stones, the smell of ink, a voice singing a song she could not quite hear. She pressed her forehead against the tree and closed her eyes. "I do not remember you," she whispered, "but I feel you. You are in every leaf and every flower. You are in the grass and the soil and the sunlight. You are not gone. You are everywhere." The branches swayed gently, though there was no wind. Golden leaves drifted down around her, like warm rain. Cale came to stand beside her. "Are you all right?" Lyra opened her eyes, bright with tears, but smiling. The first real smile her new self had ever made. "I do not remember much, but I know this is right. This is what I was meant to do." She looked at the world below. The green was still growing, still transforming ash into life. Mountains emerged from clearing clouds. Birds appeared, small shapes against the brightening sky, calling to each other in disbelief. "What happens now?" Lyra asked. Dessa smiled. "Now we live. We build. We plant crops and raise houses. We teach our children about the world that was lost and the girl who brought it back. We tell the story of what happened here so it is never forgotten." She looked at Lyra with deep affection. "And we make sure you are never alone." "The ash folk have lived underground for 1,000 years, Cale said. "But now, thanks to you, we have a reason to come to the surface." Lyra looked at her companions. people she could not remember meeting, but who felt as familiar as her own hands. She looked at the tree that held her memories, that would grow for centuries. She looked at the sky, wide and blue and infinite. She did not know her past. She did not know the names of the people she had loved. But she knew this: she was standing in a world being reborn, and she had helped make it happen. Somewhere inside her, in a place deeper than memory, she carried a love so strong that it had brought an entire world back to life. And though she would never know it, the tree behind her held every moment she had lost. On quiet nights, when the wind blew through its golden leaves, the people of the new world would hear sounds in the rustling. A loom clicking softly, a child laughing, a mother singing a lullaby that no one alive could name, but everyone somehow recognized. The sun climbed higher, the ash continued to transform, and Lyra, the girl who gave up everything to save a world she could no longer remember, stood on the green hillside and watched the beginning of something new.